We get set for the Guardians and Cubs, and it's Tuesday night, big-time TV tonight with the MLB on TBS, and Ron Darling will be on the call. Ron, thank you for joining us again. We always love having you on the show. Please tell me you packed some offense on this road trip because the Guardians have been struggling to find runs in the last 4 games. They found 6 in one of those, but otherwise it's been goose eggs like crazy. Hi, Ron. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for you guys for having me back. And yes, I've been crunching you guys' numbers all morning, and I haven't figured out the Rubik's Cube of your offense yet. But listen, you've got some good players. You got some players that have underperformed. Fry is a big part of your offense. He hasn't gotten on track since coming off the IL, so it's in there. It just hasn't come to fruition, especially of late.
What does a pitcher do, Ron, in that situation? The rotation's been really good as of late for the Guardians, but they know they're pitching, without a safety net. They're not going to get a whole lot of runs most nights. How does that affect what they do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, you got your guy, one of the great nicknames in the game, right? The Big Rig, Gavin Williams, pitching tonight. I'll tell you what you can't do. You can't go into the game and say, boy, if I'm not perfect, I have no chance. Those are the things that you can't worry about because you have no control over it. All you have control over is being as good as you can be. And Williams, when he's at his best, you guys have seen him. He's the full package and just getting better. He's taken the next step this year, absolutely. And but you can't worry about your offense. You only can worry about what you can control, and that is keeping the ball down, keeping the ball in the park against the Cubbies team. And if your team, which has been your offensive guys, if they get shut out like they have 3 of the last 4 games, I mean, what can you do about that? You have no control. So I think you just have to concentrate on what you do.
I think the other part that they got to avoid is looking at the standings, right? I mean, they're 11 and a half back. That's the biggest gap between a first and second place team in all of Major League Baseball. And I think as a fan, you're sitting here going 11 and a half back, and I know Jeff and I were like, well, okay, we got to be careful. It's July 1st, but man, that feels like a mountain between the Guardians and Tigers right now.
Yeah, it does. And, this is the largest lead the Tigers have had since their magical year in '84 when they started out 35-5. That's another thing. You're right. You can't worry about that because you're not going to catch them if you continue to play the way you're playing. So, one of the things you have to concentrate on, and I know Stephen Bowden and his staff are making sure they convey this message, is, you just have to figure out a way to win tonight, and then you'll kind of figure it out the next day. The great thing about this wild card era, though, is this is not without precedent. The 2019 Nationals were 11, 12 games under 500. They won it all. 2021 Braves just lost to Cunha. They were 10 or 11 games under 500. They won it all. And the Mets last year, who made it to the NLCS, were 11 or 12 in June. They had that record, so they came back as well. So it's not without precedent. One of the things that's great about this wild card era is if you hover around 500 or better, you're going to be in some kind of race. And then if you make a big move in August and September, then you'll secure a spot. So it's daunting, absolutely, but it's not something you can't overcome.
Ron, I wonder about hitting today and pitching today. And you see batting averages around the league not where they used to be, and team batting averages not where they used to be. According to what Baseball Reference, team batting averages have been under 250 for like the last 5 or 6 years. Is that a problem that needs corrected, or is that okay? I think back to the 60s when they lowered the mound, when pitching was dominant. Should anything be done here, or is it just pitching's doing a great job? Because it really is.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary when you see guys like Skeens and Milwaukee's Mizorowski and the Reds' Chase Burns, even though he got hit last night. You're seeing all these big arms. Like, when does it end, for these hitters? Well, as far as the batting average is concerned, in today's game, the powers that be that run the game don't care about batting average. They care about OPS. So one of the things you're going to get from professional players is that they will go where they're going to be paid. where they're incentivized. So if the front office doesn't care about batting average, neither do they. So the continuation to try to find slug in their game is still going to happen unless we go back to incentivizing being able to put the ball in play, elevating guys from AAA, like Luis Arraez type players, guys who put the bat on the ball. Stephen Kwan, of course, who plays left field for you guys. If more of those players are brought to the big league, then you'll see batting average go up. It's very similar to starting pitching. The powers that be incentivize going as hard as you can, as long as you can, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. But if they paid major league pitchers only on innings and starts, you would watch them pitching a lot more innings and a lot more starts. That's kind of how professional sports works. It's a very, I know for the fan at home, it's got to be so frustrating. And at times for me, it's frustrating, and that's one of the places to me that I see the sport having to watch itself, because, the starting pitchers matchup that when I was a kid, I would look in the paper and say, I've got to watch this game, or I've got to track this game because it's two heavyweights going at it, happens less and less often. And I think that's bad for the sport, in my opinion.
That's a great point. Sometimes we get caught up in it because we know how good he is here. And then we see through the All-Star game sometimes that he is recognized nationally. But Jose Ramirez, I love hearing like your perspective and outsiders' perspective on really how lucky we are to have this guy, and that he decided he wanted to be here. And I think fans get it, they understand it, but it's kind of an outlier in all of professional sports.
Yeah, I think that's what makes. There's 1,000 things that makes Jose special, but that he chose to stay in his town, unlike maybe a Garrett Cole in Pittsburgh, although he was traded. But you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. We always, 99% of the time, we get athletes that say that they want to stay, but they've got to test the market, see what they're worth, whatever. And occasionally you get a real dedicated to the town athlete like Jose Ramirez that understands he's very comfortable where he's at. He's happy where he's at, and he's happy to take a hometown discount. Can you just imagine what he'd be worth on the free market after the Soto contract? So those players very rarely come around, and when they do, they should be cherished, not only by the sport, but also by the fan base that they play for, and certainly that has happened in Cleveland. The story I probably have told you before, but one of the things that I love about Jose is the 1 year, I think it was maybe 3 years ago, it was Kwan's first year, maybe 2 years ago, and Tito Francona had told him, Jose Ramirez, hey, listen, we got a lot of young guys. We're only going to have a chance if they watch the best player on our team hustle and play harder than anyone else. And he went out and did that, which he always does anyway. And it inspired that team to the postseason. So it's those kind of players that there's not enough of them.
Ron, do you think there was, and I'm just saying this just because the fans love it. I love it. I think, there's a lot of ways love it. But do you think the MLBPA was upset with him? Do you think other players were upset with him because he probably could have got a lot more money somewhere else? Or is that just kind of mythical? Because we hear that all the time. When Jim Thome left, the stories were flying around left and right that he was getting pressure from the MLBPA. And how would you walk away from Philly when you're going to make a deal like that? And I just kind of wonder what the inside baseball story would be on that for Jose if the MLBPA would reach out and go, "What are you doing?" One of those kind of stories.
Yeah, no, that's a real. I've never been asked anything like that before. That is a real peek behind the curtain. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys are supposed to know that. Someone's going to come to the show, open your door.
You've spent way too much time in New York, man. Way too much time.
No, I don't think that happens between the MLBPA and the player.
Right.
But that certainly happens between the union and the agent. The agent would certainly get a call and say, hey, listen, this is where he fits, and this is where we see him fitting, and what does the contract look like with Cleveland? That kind of stuff I can certainly see happening. So it makes it even more courageous when a player says no to all of that kind of undue pressure and just does his own thing. Hey, listen, it's your career. It's not the MLBPA's career. It's not the owner's career. It's your career. So you can do what you wish to do with it. And Jose did that.
Ron Darling joining us. He'll be doing the color commentary on tonight's TBS broadcast of the Guardians in Chicago against the Cubs, and baseball on TBS every Tuesday night. Ron does a great job with that. The Guardians can't score runs right now. We've talked about that a little bit, Ron, one of the lowest teams in Major League Baseball. There are a couple of young guys who have been hot in AAA. How do you balance, if you're Stephen Vogt, if you're Chris Antonetti, if you're Mike Chernoff, the want to make the offense better, but being patient with the guys who are here rather than bringing up a guy who, though he might be doing okay in AAA, might not be quite ready yet?
Yeah. Well, I think that I always feel like your people, who are some of the smartest people in the game, are conservative. They would rather that when the player does come up, that they stay up. That's always a hard call. I've seen players come up who had bad AAA numbers, and the next thing you know, they're the biggest part of your team. I've seen guys come up that are automatic shoo-ins. There's no way they're going to fail, and they go one for their first 50. So it is a very difficult call because it's not always about the player. Sometimes it's about it's not always about the stats. Sometimes it's about what the player has insides. And also, from lots of discussions, the jump from AAA now to the big leagues is as big as it's ever been. The pitching in AAA, you will see average velocity of fastballs in the 92, 93 area, where you come to the major leagues, it's 95 to 96. That's a huge change, an uptick in velocity and speed of the game for players that are coming from AAA. But I think that your organization in the past has been very conservative. You're also a team that, has a hard time going out and deciding to get a bat that's going to cost them a lot of prospects or going to cost them a lot of money. So that's not going to happen as well. So, going in as a fan that those are kind of the premises you're dealing with. If I were, Chris, and trying to think about what I can do, I always look at it this way. There's 26 guys in that room, Voter and his staff. They're grinding. I've never met anyone that's ever gone into a game or a season and says, you know what, I'm not going to be good today. Everyone always is trying to max out what they're doing. And I do know that the players in the room really appreciate when ownership and the people that run the team understand that and give them some oxygen every once in a while. I know that's a big boost.
Ron, thank you as always. Give the folks the lowdown on tonight. When will we see first pitch for you guys, and talks about a little bit about tonight's game against the Cubs?
Well, we're going to come on with Brian Anderson. I know you guys like Brian Anderson. He's one of the best in the game. He just did the French Open, Roland Garros, so I'm going to try to get him to do it in English.
Nice.
Our broadcast tonight, so you can catch us at 7. But if you can, at 6:30 we have the pregame show, and it's Lauren Shahadi, and it's Jimmy Rollins, and it's Pedro Martinez, and it's Curtis Granderson. But Jimmy's going to do a whole thing on Ramirez and switch hitting tonight. So if your fans love that kind of stuff, Jimmy's one of the best about talking baseball, and especially switch hitting, because he did it at a high level as well.
Outstanding. All right, please tell Brian Anderson we said hi from Cleveland, because he'll always be our other Brian Anderson. If you get a chance, ask him about how the Brian Anderson, who's currently in Tampa, who's originally from Cleveland, stole his hotel room at a Fox conference. If you get bored, that'll be good to talk about over dinner tonight.
Well, listen, we might even do it in game. Well, when your Guardians have a 6-run lead, maybe we'll go into each of them cashing the wrong paycheck. Okay.
Oh, you got them all, and a 6-run lead, man. I'm gonna start praying right now.
Yeah, we're
thanks,
good.
Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Okay. Take care.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Ron Darling was outstanding as a pitcher. He's also outstanding when you listen to him call any game.